Hello guys, today in this video, we are going to help you to find out the best smart light switches in market. I made this list based on my personal opinion and I tried to list them based on their quality, durability, customer review and more. If you want to see their price and find out more information about them, you can check our links in the description below. Number 10. Leviton Decora Smart Wi-Fi Voice Dimmer with Amazon Alexa. There aren't a ton of smart switches with Alexa built in, probably because it's far simpler to just stick an Echo Dot in your room. The Leviton Decora Smart Voice Dimmer with Alexa one-ups the ecobee Switch Plus by the inclusion of a key feature, dimming. Yes, unlike ecobee's on-off switch, Leviton's lets you incrementally adjust the brightness of your lights. However, it's not the prettiest of switches. There are two flat rectangular buttons for turning your lights on and off, and a small mesh grille on the bottom third for the Alexa speaker. A small rectangular LED at the top lights up blue when you engage Amazon's Smart Assistant, and a small green LED at the bottom of the switch turns on when your lights turn off, so you can more easily find the switch in the dark. The Leviton app isn't the most intuitive, but lets you configure a ton of things. You can specify the bulb type, fade on-off rate, and set the dimming range, too. The switch can also be connected to Alexa, Google Assistant, August, FTTT. However, it lacks two-factor authentication, which is the bare minimum security measure a company should offer. The small speaker in the Decora Smart Switch is good for asking Alexa the news and weather, but not much else. Like the ecobee Switch Plus, it's small and tinny, so listening to music borders on painful. Number 9. WeMo Wi-Fi Smart Dimmer. The original WeMo Smart Dimmer had a cool LED status light, good construction, and we liked the app's different lighting modes, including night mode. This time around, the dimmer loses the big status bar LED at the bottom and uses the ring around its power icon to accomplish the same task, which we believe is the right choice, making it just a little more classy in its appearance. The switch retains the little finger groove that you slide your finger in to adjust brightness. It's an intuitive control mechanism that is very satisfying to use. As you slide your finger, little dots along the groove light up to let you know to what percentage brightness you're setting your bulb. Overall, it has a clean, simple design that even extends to the back of the device, which is now a touch shallower, making it easier to install. The color-coded wires coming from the back make for simpler installation as well. As regards smart home compatibility, WeMo is broadly compatible, hitting all three major voice assistants and working with IFTTT. WeMo's dimmer is very responsive to voice commands via Siri, our chosen test assistant in this case. However, certain smart home devices can be very finicky on some networks, and WeMo is no exception. In testing, it routinely became unresponsive to voice commands and the home app and had to be reset. The problems disappeared when we switched it to a smart home-friendly mesh network, but it's worth noting that not all the smart home devices on the previous network had this issue. If you use the WeMo app, you'll find some nice features, such as long press to toggle other WeMo devices, and a schedule which sets the switch to a given brightness level if used during certain hours. However, the app lacks two-factor authentication. Given that you can access WeMo remotely, this is inherently less secure. Because the switch retains its core functionality when solely connected to HomeKit, however, we can still recommend it. Number 8. Jasco Enbrighten Z-Wave No Neutral Smart Dimmer. For those who have one of the best smart home hubs, the Jasco Enbrighten Z-Wave Dimmer is a very good smart light switch. It's a cinch to install, as there's no neutral wire needed and the terminals are agnostic. A simple paddle switch handles both on-off duties as well as dimming functions. If that's all you need, then you're all set. However, more adventurous types can also modify the switch's code to change what happens when you press its switch. The Enbrighten can also work with a host of other smart home systems once you connect it to a hub, too. We only wish it came with a cover plate. Number 7. LeGrand Smart Dimmer Switch. Calling a smart light switch universal is a bold claim, but this LeGrand switch gets pretty close, as it can communicate with the holy trinity of smart home systems, Apple HomeKit, Amazon Alexa and Google Home. There's no direct support for IFTTT or Zigbee devices, though. The universal moniker also applies to what it is controlling, with LeGrand claiming that it auto-detects and calibrates with LED, CFL, halogen, incandescent, and EFL bulbs. It can control up to 450W of LED and CFL or 700W of halogen and incandescent, which should cover most light sources. We tested it with a number of dimmable LED and incandescent sources and found that it worked as advertised, controlling these light sources without problems. The paddle switch itself has a nice clicky feel to it, but it is smaller than most. Those who like to bash paddle switches with the side of their hand may prefer the larger Leviton Decora switches. Next to the main switch is a dimmer switch, along with 7 small white LEDs to show the dimming level. Next to this is the air gap switch, a tiny switch that turns the entire switch mechanism off when installing bulbs. Although the true universal dimmer lives up to the name, those who use HomeKit may prefer the Leviton Decora DH6HD, which is less expensive. Number 6. Philips Hue Dimmer. For those who have outfitted their homes with Philips Hue bulbs or don't want to replace their wall switches, the Philips Hue Dimmer is a handy little device. It can be used as a wireless remote or as a wall switch, but this switch doesn't need any installation, apart from peeling the covering off the adhesive on its back. This switch works with only Hue bulbs, though it's almost magic when it does. Just turn on the light containing the Hue bulb as you normally would, then, start using the Philips dimmer, and it will automatically work. And don't worry, there's no interference or conflict between the Hue dimmer and your normal wall switch. The magic in the dimmer lies in the Philips Hue bridge, which is required for the dimmer to work. The Philips Hue app is full of fun controls and creative themes for your Hue bulbs. You can set schedules for your Hue bulbs, which can be controlled by your voice through Amazon Alexa, Google Home and Apple HomeKit. It's also compatible with a host of other smart home platforms. Number 5. Lutron Aurora. In some households, wall switches control an outlet, rather than a light fixture, so you can plug in a floor or table lamp, and then switch it on or off from your wall, rather than the lamp itself. But if you also use that outlet for devices that have to stay on all the time, like a clock radio, then you have to tape over the wall switch or resort to some other method to keep from accidentally flipping the switch and turning off power to everything connected to the outlet. The Lutron Aurora is a simple, elegant solution to that problem. It clips onto the toggle switch, but links directly to Philips Hue lights, letting you control them by tapping or turning the dial, all while maintaining power to the outlet. While this is a specific use case, and you also need Philips Hue lights, it works well. The company also makes a model for paddle switches as well. Number 4. Lutron Caseta. The Caseta line of switches from Lutron offers an impressive list of features: geofencing, which means your lights will automatically turn on or off when you leave or arrive at home, the ability to schedule your lights to turn on or off at particular times or days, dimming capabilities, and compatibility with a long list of smart home platforms. You can also control the system using your voice through Amazon Alexa and Google Home, among many others. It's one of the best HomeKit devices, too. Lutron Smart Starter Kit comes with one in-wall switch, one wireless remote and one smart bridge, which can also be used to connect other Lutron products to the cloud and control them. The switch itself looks high-tech, with several buttons laid out to control the numerous options Caseta offers. Lutron has gone for function over fashion for the most part with this dimmer. The white and gray buttons are front and center, not hidden by touch-sensitive controls, as is the case with other dimmers in this category. The only downside is that the switch, like all of Lutron's products, must be linked to the smart bridge. The bridge itself must be plugged into your router so that you can control it from your smartphone. Number 3. Brilliant Control Panel. The Brilliant Touchscreen Light Switch lets you control not only your lights, but also other smart home devices, such as cameras, speakers, and more. The panel has a large touchscreen, which you can use to look in on your security cameras, play music through smart speakers, and more. A touch-sensitive slider to one side is a simple way to change the brightness of the lights. Brilliant sells models with multiple sliders, in the event you have multiple light groups. In addition, the panel has built-in motion sensors, so it can turn lights on and off as you enter and leave a room. A small camera lets you use multiple Brilliant panels as video intercoms. The Brilliant panel also works with a wide range of smart home systems, such as Alexa, Google Assistant, HomeKit, Ring, August, Ecobee, Honeywell, Sonos, Philips Hue, and Genie. However, the brilliant control panel is expensive, as it starts at $299 for a single switch panel. Number 2. Leviton Decora Smart Wi-Fi Dimmer. The second-generation Leviton Decora Smart Wi-Fi Dimmer looks much the same as the original, an unobtrusive paddle switch with a smaller toggle on the right. However, installation is a bit easier in this model. As before, it works with three-way switches, but Leviton also released an Anywhere dimmer, which lets you add a secondary light switch without having to connect any wires. The Leviton Decora works with Alexa, Google Assistant HomeKit, August and IFTTT, but it supports fewer smart home systems than Lutron does. The Leviton also lacks the geofencing feature found in Lutron's app. It also lacks two-factor authentication, so we wouldn't recommend using it unless you're pairing it with HomeKit. Number 1. GE C-Start Smart Switch Motion Sensing Dimmer. The GE C-Start Smart Switch isn't the sexiest or sleekest, but it's the best smart light switch because it gets the job done and is packed with features. The Wi-Fi connected switch works with all kinds of bulbs, has apps for iOS and Android, and lets you control lights with a touch, voice, motion, or remotely via a smartphone. Installation, as with most other smart switches, requires a neutral wire, but it's fairly straightforward. The switch includes an ambient light sensor and a motion sensor to automatically trigger the light. The latter feature worked seamlessly. If you turn it off with the switch, after a few minutes C-Start will engage the motion sensor again, or you can disable the sensor via the app in case you don't want it switched on in the middle of the night. Like other Alexa-enabled switches, the C-Start dimmer responds to voice commands, but the C by GE Android app needs some work. Setting up an automation for a room is confusing, and it can even be difficult to tell when you've scheduled it to go on and off. At around $70, it's more expensive than most other smart light switches, but the C-Start Smart Switch gives you a lot for the price.